For the first sewing along with me, we'll be making the Caroline bags. These are really cute. And it's one of my most favorite patterns because it's the first pattern I ever designed. The Caroline bags has a two-tone front, a back zipper pocket, and a top zipper pocket closures, as well as a slip pocket in the interiors for you to put more things in there. Once you got the kits, come join me and let's make the Caroline bag together. Even if you do not have my bag patterns or kit, you can come and join me as well because we can have fun together and sew along with your own pattern. For this project, this is all the pieces you will need. Depending on the kits you bought, the pattern will be different. This is what I will be making today to demonstrate how to make the Caroline bag. Now, if you purchase a kit from me, you will see that each of the kits come with a booklet like this one. And in that, there are detailed photos and description on how to make the bag. I usually try to keep all the photos aligned with the bag pattern, so that way it's making it easier for you to do each steps. Here's a quick breakdown of each pieces. Here's A1 and A2. A1 is the top exterior panel, and A2 is the back zipper tab. This is B1, exterior. This is B2, and then we have two of these. This is the D-rings. Now, because this side is a medium, we only have two D-rings. If you have a large, there will be a third D-ring provided for the interior's key change D-ring. This one is a little different color because I decided to use a different color just to do experiments. But if you were to get my kit, this one will match this color. This is a C. This one right here is the C1. It's the interiors of the bag. C2, which is the slip pocket lining. And then we got C3, the zipper pack pockets. Here we have his interfacing. Now, if you buy one of my kits that comes with a duck canvas straps, it will also include a strap interfacing. E1, this is E2, and E2 is usually the longer one, and it's for the back closure zippers. Then you got the D-rings, E3, then you got the swivel hooks, E4, and then you got the slider. This is for adjustable. If you have a large size, you have an extra D-ring. That's what I always sew in with. You can also use a zigzag foot, and we also need a zipper foot. Now, if you don't have a zipper foot, a regular foot will also get you pretty close to the zipper edges. The needle I'll be using will be a size 16, and then there will be points where it will be thick, so I also carry a size 18. Now, you do not need a 16 and an 18. You could do one or the other, but I like to change my needle out a lot. And there will be part where you will use quilting cotton, so a size 80-11 will be beneficial as well. For thread, I am using this one, which is a size for Tex 45. It's a polyester bond. It's a little thicker than a normal thread, but of course you could use all-purpose as well. Lastly, this is optional, but I found that this tool, we call a bulky seam jumper tool, and this tool is extra handy when you go from a low point to a high point on the fabric. Lint through and remove any lint on your fabric. Then iron to remove any crease. Use a spray bottle if needed to help you remove hard creases. Fraying is normal for cotton canvas. If you see any fraying, leave it alone. Do not pull it out. Once we sew, it will not be visible. For the exterior panel, you will need A1 and B1 pieces. Once you have those pieces, you're going to mark the top center points of B1 and the bottom center point of A1. Now to do so, make sure your A1 panel fabric prints is in the right directions. So for my pattern here, if I aim to face the back, the donuts will be facing upwards. To mark the center points, it's very simple. All you have to do is grab this piece, fold it in half, and take a pencil or a pen and just mark the corner right here, like this. My favorite way to mark the center points is to fold the piece in half and make a little corner snips at a 45-degree angle, like that. You don't want the triangle to be too deep because then you're gonna get into the seam allowance. Always try to get the point of the triangle to be less than half an inch, or at least for this case, 1/4 of an inch, because that's the seam allowance. If you go beyond the seam allowance, the marking where you mark the triangle tips will be visible. And once you did that, you will have a triangle corners, and all you have to do is align these corners with any fabric you need. Take the B1 piece, and mark the top center point. So, same thing, fold in half. I'm just gonna snip it, but you could definitely use a pen or a pencil. And do the same for all the other piece. All right, everything is marked. Now what you're gonna do is put one of the B1 and one of the A1 aside. You're gonna take one of the A1 and one of the B1, and what you're gonna do is lay the right side together. Now, with the bottom solid colors, it is really hard to tell which one is the right side. In my opinion, there is no right side or wrong side to the solid color duck canvas. It's always the same. If you look at the A1 piece, you could tell that this is the right side and behind is the wrong side, very visibly. But for this piece, you can't really tell. So it doesn't matter which side, just make sure you pick one that looks the nicest and that you want to be the front or the outside of the back. Aligned it at the mark center point, facing right side with the right side. Pin it in place. I usually use binder clips, but whatever you have around the house, sewing pins, sewing clips, you can feel free to use that. You don't have to use the exact same thing I'm using. This is just to temporarily hold the piece in place so that you could sew easily. Okay, make sure it's really well aligned, or at least align the best you can. Now we're gonna take this piece to the sewing machines and sew a horizontal line across at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. The needle I'm using here is size 16. As you sew, when you first start, you could also backstitch depending on your sewing machines. I usually start my sewing by holding on the thread back here at the beginning just to let it go first. I usually do this to prevent any tension issue. Once I sew a couple stitches, I will let it off and we don't have to hold that anymore. Now, if you're a beginner sewer, it might be hard to sew on a straight line. So what I did to my sewing machine is I have printed out rulers that help guide me. Now, if you're a beginner sewer, you could sew slow. Don't have to worry about speeding up your sewing process. Take your time and try to get that perfect seam allowance. And over time, you will get better at it. After you sew your seam, open up your panel and do a crease. Now, to do this crease, I recommend that you fold the crease so that the bottom B1 piece is upward, like this. You do not want to split in the middle. Instead, you want to push it upward and crease it like that. This is because when you top stitch, you want the top stitch to run along this top piece. You don't want it to top stitch like this. Then it became thicker here, and then your piece will look thicker around here. Once you do that, take this to the sewing machines and sew a horizontal line across at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. For me, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance is usually around where the foot is. So this is how I usually get 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. As you can see here, my sewing machines, I'm very bad at sewing a straight line. So I usually have these rulers marks here so that I know how to align them. And usually 1/8 is half of 1/4, which is this line right here. However, when I sew through, I can't see that marking, and there's no way for me to see this marking here. Once you finish top stitching, grab your inner facing. Now the inner facing is a fusible inner facing, which means that one side is not adhesive and one side is adhesive. And you can tell the difference by looking at the inner facing itself. So on the side where it's not adhesive, it will be very smooth. Like the side that is adhesive has a little bit of more of a rough textures. You can kind of tell it's more of like plasticky. On your hand, you will feel it's very rough. That's the side that has the glue and that have to stick to your exterior panel you just made. You're going to lay this smooth side against the iron board with the rough side facing up. You're going to take the exterior panel you just make and put it on top. Try to align it the best you can. I usually align it based on the bottom of the cuts out corners, because if there's any other extra interfacing pieces, I could just trim that. I recommend that you lay it like this, iron through the exterior panel fabric, because if you inadvertently iron on the interfacing directly, and instead of iron on the right side where it has no glue and iron directly on this glue adhesive side, then your iron will have glue all over it. So I have learned from my mistakes in the past, and so I highly recommend that you just lay like how I did. Make sure the adhesive is facing the inside of the exterior panel, and then just iron on directly from here, not from here. And if you want to do this way instead and you prefer this way, lay a piece of fabric or another piece of fabric over on top, then iron to that. You want to set the iron at the highest setting you can. It's okay you don't have steam mode. What you do is you're gonna lay the iron on parts of the exterior panel for about 1 to 3 seconds. Lift and do it again. This is how you get the adhesive to stick to the back of the panel. Now there's many times where I was in a rush to make a project, or I was not really paying attention, was just in the zone out part. I accidentally ironed the interfacing to the iron because I was ironing on the other way, and I didn't realize it was the adhesive side, and that was a nightmare to clean the iron, and everything just sticks. The iron was hot. It was a nightmare. So hopefully with this method, you don't make the same mistakes as me. Now, the reason why we use interfacing for this exterior panel is because you want to add that extra structure to the crossbody bag. For a crossbody bag, we don't want that strong of a structure like a laptop bag or like a suitcase, right? But we still want some structure to the point where it has some structure, but it still fall and drapes over your body when you wear it against you. So this is why I selected this interfacing specifically for the crossbody bag. What are your favorite ways of wearing a crossbody bag? And what is your favorite style of crossbody bag? Are you a big bag fan or a small bag fan? I'm definitely a big bag fan. Now that you have this piece, it just sticks, shouldn't come off if you do it right. If there's any parts of the panel that is not sticking, just add a little more heat to that part and it just sticks and became one piece. Now, if you feel this panel right now, you can see it has more structure, but it still is malleable enough. If there's any extra interfacing hanging off like this, you want to trim those off. Interfacing is actually very difficult, or maybe it's just me who struggle with it, to cut accurately and precisely the right size. I always have extra edges and I can't figure out how to cut it correctly. And there you have it, one of the exterior panel is now complete. We are going to repeat the same steps to make the other exterior panels. I am going to go ahead and repeat the same steps I just showed you, and we'll be back once this panel is done. Both the exterior panels are now complete. Part 1 is completed. One thing I forgot to mention is that if you use a collar thread to do the top stitch, it will add a nice additional outline to your bag. Like for my bag here, if I had used a brown, it will look very pretty and will stand out. But instead I use a white, so it's very hard to see. Here is an example I did with a collar thread. You can see how it adds a nice outline to the bag. You had made it through part 1, and isn't it adorable? I love putting the exterior panel together for this Caroline crossbody bag. I just love how the opposite color pattern play with each other, and I'm so excited that we made it through part 1. Hopefully you had fun playing with the interfacing as well as learning about top stitching. Come back and join me tomorrow for part 2, where we will be making the back to zipper pocket. See you tomorrow. Bye!